Hey witches, welcome back. My name is Taya, and today we're back with another video, and I wanted to have a little chat about one of my favorite witch tools, which is the arrow, or the arrows, which is not something that we very commonly see in witchcraft, but it is a very common theme in traditional witchcraft, and I find it's a little shrouded in mystery, so today I'm gonna maybe hopefully provide a little bit of enlightenment. So as a lot of you might know, it was recently my birthday, back at the beginning of December, and one of my favorite places to go is a little mountain town about 3.5 hours away from Edmonton called Jasper. So for any of you that are local, you know kind of Jasper is like where the Edmontonians go to be in the mountains. And they have this really wonderful shop. It doesn't actually have, oh, I can't remember the name of the shop. Anyways, great little shop, and they sell all sorts of different Indigenous made products. So I picked myself up a couple of Navajo arrows made by Leon McDonald of the Navajo tribe. It says Indian arrows. I'll show you them in a second. Warriors gain status not only by success in battle, but their skill in crafting weapons. Native boys lived for the day they would be allowed to prove their heart on the warpath. They learned that turkey or buzzard feathers made better arrow fletching than hawk or eagle feathers because they were much more durable. They learned what types of wood could be easily smoothed and straightened into arrows. They believed that the natural materials possessed their own divine power, thereby increasing the spiritual potency of their arrows. So I got 2 arrows. They're very similar. Now these are replicas, so they're actually made with doweling, but beautiful feathers on the fletching and real flint arrowheads. So there's this one here and this other one here, which looks very, very similar. They have very similar arrow fletching. It's not actually white in there. That's just a reflection of whatever kind of sealant they've used. And then they have the 2 different arrowheads. One's darker, one's lighter, which is important in my witchcraft practice, which I'll tell you about in a second. So these are gorgeous arrows. They are traditionally made, and I picked them up for what I consider a steal of a deal, because arrows, again, are very heavily associated with traditional witchcraft. So I'll show you a couple of pictures as we go along here so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. And this is the first one. Sorry, it printed it out super tiny, but you can see there's a stang with a wreath and 2 crossed arrows in the center. That image and the information I'm going to give you here comes from an article titled "Of Arrows and Garlands" by Stephen Posh on witchesandpagans.com. It was written in September of 2014, and he talks about his tradition, which is very different from mine. So I'm going to give you both sides of the coin here. So in his tradition, they work with those pair of arrows and a wreath, similar to a skull and crossbones. The pair of arrows represent the masculine and the wreath represents the feminine. And they cross the 2 arrows over the front of the wreath, with the arrows pointing up in summer and down in winter. And the 2 arrows crossed were meant to represent the twofold nature of the old master. One of the arrows would have black fletching and the other would have white fletching. And that twofold nature has to do with arrows being their death. They kill things, but they also give life in that you can hunt with them and provide food, which provides life. And another thing that he noted is that the round garland with the crossed arrows is a very similar symbol to the sun wheel, which Michael Howard, if any of you know, he's like a very well-known tradcraft author, Michael Howard said was the true symbol of traditional witchcraft. So kind of some interesting information. And in this, in Stephen Posh's tradition, the arrows represent the masculine, which is the opposite of the Spiral Castle tradition that I'm a part of. We have some notes on dressing the stang, And the two arrows, one black, one white, represent the black goddess and the white goddess. And you would hang the two arrows crossed from the shaft of the stang. And they represent the dualities in our tradition. The black and white goddess, the light and dark halves of the year. Spring to fall, the arrows point up with the white arrow in front, representing the dominance of the white goddess. And in the fall to spring, the arrows point downward with the black arrow in front, representing the dominance of the black goddess at that time. So very similar to the other tradition, but then some of the their representations are the opposite. So they kind of, we move them in the same way, where they point up in the summer, down in the winter. But for us, they're a representation of the black and the white goddess. The other thing that can be done in our tradition is you can hang linen robes or shirts from the arrow on the stang. So you would take, say, the white arrow, and you hang it across just like this on the stang. You would hang it from the stang so it goes across. And then you could put a linen shirt or a linen robe to hang from it. And let's see here. You would have white linen on a white arrow for weddings or initiations, and a black linen on the black arrow for blasting magic or work that needs extra invisibility or protection. And in the notes, it says these, your arrows, whether you're like just crossing them or you're dressing them, they can also be accompanied by seasonal wreaths or garland. So you can see how these two traditional craft practices are very, very similar, but the representations are a little bit different. But we use them in a very similar way. So yeah, and the other picture I was going to show you is from Call of the Horned Piper, another traditional witchcraft book by Nigel Jackson. And again, you can see the arrows showing up here. You've got this kind of seal with the skull, the snake, and two crossed arrows. So it is, it's sort of like, it's never, I don't find it openly discussed anywhere, this use of arrows as different representations within your compass round hanging from the stang. Literally, I think these are the only two discussions I've come across. It is in my course notes for the Spiral Castle tradition with the Red Thread Academy. And then this one blog, which I will list below on witchesandpagans.com. And again, I don't know anything about the person that did that article. I just thought it was really interesting to find somebody with sort of the opposite sort of representations on the arrows. Theirs being masculine, ours being feminine. But them being used in a very, very similar way. So yeah, I don't know. Do you use arrows in your witchcraft practice? Is that like a thing? I would love to know. Yeah, I'm really excited to, work with these arrows, get them consecrated, start using them in our compass round, and yeah, see where they take us. I feel like there's like mysteries here that are just waiting to be accessed. But yeah, I'd love to know if you use arrows and what you use them for in your practice. And yeah, that's just a little bit about another one of my favorite tools. Thanks so much, you guys. We'll catch you in the next one.